Everyone is watching Iran, everyone is watching Israel, everyone is watching America. But the country that could change this entire war overnight, nobody is watching, and it is Pakistan. Okay, so I want you to really pay attention to what I am about to explain, because this is something most analysts are not talking about right now, and once you understand it, you will see this war very differently. So, where do we begin? We begin with Saudi Arabia, because Pakistan does not enter this picture on its own. Pakistan enters through Saudi Arabia. And to understand that chain, we first have to understand what is happening to Saudi Arabia right now.
The Iranians are hitting Saudi Arabia right now as we speak. Missiles, drones, energy sites, oil infrastructure, all of it being targeted deliberately and systematically. And I want to be clear, this is not random. This is not accidental. This is Iran executing its core strategy in this war, which is destroy the economic foundation of the global order. And the way you do that is you go after the energy supply of the Gulf states. Because without cheap energy flowing out of this region, the entire global economy begins to break down. That is what Iran is doing. And Saudi Arabia is right in the middle of it. Now, here is where things get very interesting. Saudi Arabia has a choice in front of it right now. And that choice is, do we formally enter this war against Iran? Do we make this official? Do we declare war? And the reason this question matters so much, the reason I want you to think carefully about this, is because of what happens the moment Saudi Arabia makes that decision. Saudi Arabia and Pakistan have a formal military agreement between them, a defense agreement, a treaty. What it says is very simple. If one of them comes under attack, the other one is required to stand beside it militarily. Required, not recommended, not suggested. Required by the terms of the agreement. This is a binding obligation between these two nations. So, Saudi Arabia formally enters this war against Iran. And the moment that happens, Pakistan has no choice. Pakistan is bound by this agreement to enter alongside Saudi Arabia. Not because Pakistan has a problem with Iran, not because Pakistan chose this conflict, but because the treaty requires it. Pakistan gets pulled in automatically. Now, I want you to look at a map for a moment. Look at where Pakistan actually sits in relation to Iran. Pakistan is on Iran's eastern side. Now think about how this war has been fought so far. Every strike has come from the west. American forces, Israeli forces hitting Iran from the west, from the Mediterranean, from carriers in the Arabian Sea, from Gulf bases. Iran has been focused entirely westward. Its defenses are oriented westward. But the moment Pakistan enters, a completely new front opens up on Iran's eastern side. Now, Iran is no longer dealing with pressure from one direction. It is dealing with pressure from two directions simultaneously, west and east at the same time. And on top of that, it is possible that American forces begin using Pakistan's territory as a base from which to conduct eastern operations against Iran as well. So this eastern front is not just about Pakistan. It potentially becomes another avenue for American military pressure too. Think about what that means for Iran, a country that has already absorbed more than 7,000 strikes in just 20 days, already stretched, already degraded. Now suddenly having to split its attention, its resources, its defenses across two completely opposite fronts simultaneously. That is an extremely difficult position to be in militarily. But here is the part that I really need you to sit with for a moment. This is the part that changes everything. This is the part that makes this flashpoint different from every other flashpoint in this war. Pakistan is a nuclear state, not a country with nuclear ambitions, not a country working toward nuclear capability, a country that already has nuclear weapons. Approximately 170 of them, 170 nuclear warheads. And the moment a country with 170 nuclear warheads becomes an active participant in this war, the entire nature of this conflict shifts. Now, I want to say something clearly here, because I do not want this to be misunderstood. I do not believe nuclear weapons will actually be fired in this war. I do not think we are headed toward a nuclear strike. That is not my assessment. But here is what people misunderstand about nuclear weapons. You do not need to fire them for them to change everything. Their presence alone changes everything. The moment a nuclear-armed nation steps into an active war, every single decision made by every party in that conflict has to account for the nuclear dimension. Military planners, political leaders, intelligence agencies, every calculation changes, every threshold shifts, every red line gets redrawn. Because now, one wrong move, one strike that overshoots its target, one retaliation that crosses the wrong threshold. And suddenly you are in territory that no one planned for, territory that no one can walk back from. That is the weight of what it means for Pakistan to enter this war. Not that nuclear weapons will be used, but that they are now present. They are now real. They are now part of the equation that every decision maker has to factor in. So let me bring this all together for you. Iran is right now actively striking Saudi Arabian territory and energy infrastructure. Saudi Arabia has the option to formally declare war on Iran in response to these attacks. The moment Saudi Arabia does that, a binding military agreement between Saudi Arabia and Pakistan automatically obligates Pakistan to enter the conflict. Pakistan's entry opens a completely new eastern front against Iran, a front Iran is entirely unprepared for. American forces may also use this eastern access point to increase pressure on Iran from a new direction. And once Pakistan is inside this war, a nation with 170 nuclear warheads is now an active participant in the conflict. And the nuclear dimension becomes real. Now, I want you to think about how close we already are to this scenario. The Iranian attacks on Saudi Arabia are not hypothetical. They are happening right now. The defense agreement between Saudi Arabia and Pakistan is not hypothetical. It already exists. Pakistan's obligation to enter if Saudi Arabia declares war is not hypothetical. It is written into the treaty. The Eastern Front is not hypothetical. It becomes real the moment Pakistan steps in. All that separates us from this entire scenario playing out is one decision by Saudi Arabia. One decision, and Iran is pushing Saudi Arabia toward that decision every single day. It continues these strikes. Talk in school. So this is what I want you to watch. Watch Saudi Arabia carefully. Watch how it responds in the coming days. Because if Saudi Arabia moves from defending itself to formally declaring war, the entire map of this conflict changes overnight. Pakistan enters. The Eastern Front opens. Nuclear weapons become part of the battlefield equation. And this war enters territory that becomes very, very difficult to control. This is exactly why I keep emphasizing, do not look at this war only through what is happening between Iran and Israel and America. The most important flashpoints are often the ones developing quietly in the background. And right now, the Saudi Arabia and Pakistan dynamic, that is the flashpoint that deserves the most serious attention. So you guys, all right? So that is what I wanted to break down for you today. Subscribe for more analysis of this conflict explained clearly and simply. And tell me in the comments, do you think Saudi Arabia will formally declare war on Iran? And if it does, will Pakistan honor its treaty obligation and step into this war? I will see you next time.